Thursday, we were set, but of course, we were preempted by a live event that came all the way from Port Harcourt. But we are back here this afternoon to put the pieces together. And of course, I have a very interesting guest this afternoon. My pleasure to welcome my friend, my brother, my colleague of how many years now, Simbo? Over 30 years. Yes, we started together all the way in Lagos State Broadcasting Corporation. He was on the TV desk, I was on the radio desk. But then, he's gone on to so many things, moved on since. But between what we're doing there, Simbo Olorunfemi actually is the name. Journalist, author, public affairs analyst, publisher as well. And of course, he just did the one of those, how do I call it now? Pulling the chestnut out of the fire. 3 books at a time. Launched 3 books at a time last week. It was a public event, but all the same, within the new normal, the crowd wasn't there. But Vice President Yemi Osinbajo was gracious enough to unveil those 3 books virtually. Simbo, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
I have one of the books. I hope I'll be able to get the other 2 maybe subsequently.
Sure.
Yeah, but let's get to how it all started. Between what we're doing then as a broadcaster, a show host, and all of that, and then of course now as a writer, not just writing weekly or daily articles, but also a publisher. Which one do you find more interesting? Life as a broadcaster or life as a writer?
Well, I would say I've always been a writer, first and foremost. I've always been a poet. And when I had the opportunity to get into broadcasting, I brought all of that into it. The gift that's the God-given gifts of writing, poetry. So that was why my scripts were, you could see that my scripts were different, poetic. So I brought all of that into broadcasting.
It started long ago.
Yeah. So
even from LTV, you were always only for the special things.
So the analysis, all these things I do now started way back then. So it's just been a change. It's all about platform. Whatever platform you find yourself in, you just express yourself with what someone talks about, the pure gift, pure heart, and applied art. So you might have the innate pure heart, which is maybe the gift to be able to write, to express yourself, to analyze. But wherever you find yourself, you express that, you apply that to it. Even so, everyday life. But because I studied political science, it took a while for me to get back to political science, to now focus on political science, because what I realized was that the way it is done in the academic circles is like we're always revising. Political science, the way it's done in the university, focuses more on historical events, not contemporaneous events, not events taking place, not analyzing issues as they're happening and prognosticating or pushing or guiding people, guiding thoughts, or guiding or telling people or forecasting the future. That
obviously this one gives you more license, not just the poetic license, but probably a bigger platform to be more expressive.
Absolutely.
Because I mean, as a journalist or a broadcaster, you just touch all of those things, pam, 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 before you even have time to come back to one to begin to focus more in depth. Some other new things have happened, and then you leave that, you move on.
Yes.
So, I mean, for us, maybe at my level, all we still do is try to document history, albeit in a haste.
Yes.
Nothing comprehensive. But yours is the latter part of you now, of course.
Yes, what I've done is I've embraced solely. You know, the social media happened on us. It just happened upon us, and many journalists were hesitant because we were thinking, what's this citizen journalism? Yeah. We're used to going by all the ethics, going by all the rules, you know, trying to do your, going by the canons, what we call the canons of news writing. You want to be sure, you want to be absolutely sure.
Yeah, all the facts must be sourced through the 5 W's and the H.
You know, so we're hesitant, you know, the professionalism restrains you, restricts you. But when social media was unleashed upon us, I was a reluctant player initially, but when I saw that platform was there, so we had better use it to guide our people right, to promote civic education, to let people have a better understanding of politics, policy, politics, governance, because there are a lot of these things. People want to talk about it, but they might not have they don't necessarily have the education or the historical perspective to be able to put things together. So what we do is utilize all the privilege we've had in terms of having been involved in the process over these years, then educational background, having studied political science to the highest level, put all of those things together to be able to make sense of what is happening in Nigeria, which is what I've been doing of late, and it's been quite interesting.
Simple. In what way do you think the advent of the social media has actually taken people like us off our primary responsibility of setting agenda?
Yes, I agree with you to the extent that it will seem as if the social media has overwhelmed us. Because, first we moved from, you talked about how we started out. We started out when television, the broadcast hours was maybe just about 10 to 12 hours.
Yeah.
Then 24 hours happened upon us, instantaneous. And people want to have something fresh, something new all of the time. Then social media comes and it opens us the space. The space is now absolutely open for anybody to be a broadcaster, for anybody to be a journalist. So if you are not careful, what we say first, it muddles up the process, because now you don't know what is real, what are the facts, and all of that. But I would say that
it's such that even when people pick up things from social media, they said the media has reported.
Absolutely.
It's in the news.
But from the media, us in the media, I think we've not done as much as agenda setting or taking hold of that as much as
is social media responsible for this?
No, it is
because
us.
It wasn't like that before.
It is us not quickly taking advantage of that platform. It's us sitting back and letting others. I mean, you can imagine the biggest blogger in Nigeria. I mean, the most popular blogger does not have the kind of training that some of us have. So, but if you are set up,
I'll tell you why I asked that question. Okay. A few days ago, I was watching a top journalist, somebody that a whole lot of us will see as a colleague and all of that, and somebody who has been doing so much for the media. I'm talking of Dele Momodu. Venturing to the art of showcasing people's life, go to somebody's house, show us a room full of how many wristwatches, 200 pieces of wristwatches, 300 pairs of shoes, show us somebody's bed. A top journalist. And I'm wondering, at the end of all of that, I kept asking myself, okay, so after showing all of this, Bob D, what question did you ask this man? Of what value is all of this to society? And here we are talking of a former senator who probably is still in court, still trying to claim a mandate to return to the Senate. And I keep wondering that a journalist that had been part of agenda setting has suddenly, made that switch to the mundane inanities of social media. That's why I asked to what extent has social media influenced us, ordinary journalists, and to what extent has that taken us off that responsibility? And mind you, this is a constitutional responsibility of holding government accountable to the people.
I agree with you that a lot of us are derailed. People just want fame. Because I don't know what I mean. People now are obsessed with either likes or number of followers on Twitter. And they want to cater to that audience rather than take up the responsibility, like you said. It's a constitutional responsibility for you to guide, show people the way, do the right thing. But that will not bring you the kind of followers. It might not bring you the number of followers that someone
crave.
Yes, but you should know that's how it
to
is.
Be a social media
even the media business itself, the professional media business, if you do the soft thing, the soft thing gets to have the mass appeal. But it's about building your own brand, getting to know. You mentioned the name now. It's important. I mean, I don't know what he wants to be known for. But I won't want to be known for as the one who goes to showcase vanity. So what you are saying is that journalists should be conscious of their responsibility. We should be conscious of why
we're a journalist.
why that role, why the role of the press is enshrined in the Constitution, why it is called the fourth estate of the realm, why we were taught in school about agenda setting, why we have a filtering process in the media, why it is not everything that comes in that ought to go out, where even the media has a role to play in terms of national security, and that is done. It's all over the world. It's not. There's some things that you, by virtue of the fact that you are thinking about the interest of the nation, you have it, but you can't put it out there. So the recklessness, the impunity that plays out in the social media, now creeping into the mainstream media, is a tragedy. Because we now have a situation where people, even the mainstream media, pick up stuff from the social media and just lash it, and just splash it without letting it go through the process of verification and all of that. So, and the important thing for every journalist is for him to determine what he wants to do. I think what we need to do, all of us in the business, is for us to take ownership of the. We might say we are latecomers. Yeah. Take ownership of the space, of the platform. The platform is not the problem, because sometimes some of us want to minimize or play down the platform, talk about social media, Twitter, I'm too big to be there. No, it is what you do with the medium. The medium, it is not the medium. The problem is not with the medium. The problem is that there is a vacuum, and nature abhors vacuum. We left that space for too long, and now some of us are trying to catch up in the wrong way.
Yeah,
which
is what people like Bob D are doing now.
Exactly.
Try to
exactly.
This is what is the in now.
If you have that kind of following that he has, the Instagram.
How would you put it to that kind of?
Yes. Why don't you put that to a good use?
Because I expected on some very critical questions when he was doing that kind of a thing. You got to the house of a senator who said he has never taken government contract and is showcasing that kind of opulence in the midst of this monumental poverty and hunger that is pervading the land. Is it that he has finished feeding all the hungry people in his constituency? Yeah. He has finished. There's nothing for him to fix in his constituency. That's why he can afford to have 300 pieces of wristwatches. And I expected him to ask, okay, if suddenly you die today, are you expecting to be buried with these 300 pieces of wristwatches? How many would they put on your wrist? And all those kind of things. That's the role of
the media. Yes, that's what you're supposed to do. For the thought process that even takes a journalist to get into that venture. Yes, is not one that,
because those are the questions that members of the public will be asking, which they expect you to ask on their behalf.
Yes.
Anyway, let's leave that one. 3 books at a time, like I said. One of it I have here. Politics is not a game for gentlemen. How so?
Politics is not a game.
And I saw the comments of the vice president while unveiling this book.
Where would I say? When I say politics is not a game for gentlemen,
yes.
Would I even say? Have I said politics is not a game for gentlemen? I'm just having a conversation.
Were you asking a question?
It's a conversation that
Professor Oshibajo didn't seem to believe. Didn't seem to agree with you.
The point I make,
yes,
really, which I've made for some time now, I've been making this point consistently, is that politics is. We have to understand what politics is all about. It is not what we think it is. It is what it is. What I've seen in Nigeria is that people assume politics to be what it is not. Politics is not ethics. Okay. It is not. There is a moral element to politics, but politics is like boxing. You don't get into the ring if you want to play partake in politics. That means you are getting into the ring, into the contest. There are rules governing it. You have to protect yourself. You have to wear the gloves. You have to do things right. You have to. So you cannot get into the boxing ring now and start moralizing and start saying. Why are these people after all the things you've been doing? You have been an activist for 20 years. This. What I'm saying is that understand the game, understand the rules. There are rules that govern the game. Politics is essentially about who gets what, where, and how.
It's about self-interest or the interest of the
It is
collective.
about interest. It might not even be about it.
Self-interest,
You might have an
it's
interest.
about interest, yeah.
It's an interest. For instance, Bill Gates has an interest in the health, global health. That's an interest he's pursuing. So what do? You put your money where it is. Okay, maybe my own interest is having someone who is 40 years old with a PhD with a PhD holder attain power, become the president of Nigeria. My job is to sit down with like minds and strategize and think bottom up, not up down like many of our people do. Talk down, or the gentlemen believe that the country holds, the people hold them. I mean, after all, I've been on TV, I've been analyzing, I've been a public affairs analyst. So people should give it to me that I know what it is. No, you need to get your hands dirty. You need to get your hands. You need to think. What I'm saying is that I find it amusing when some of our people who leave the platform of activism and all of that, or intellectualizing and all of those
and get to politics,
and
then they begin to complain.
Yeah, no. That means if you say that the people at the bottom are not as enlightened as you are, then I will assume that you should be able to outthink, out-strategize them. But what has happened with us is that everything we see, we condemn, rather than interrogate. I don't do that. I'm a political science. I don't interrogate. When I see policies of infrastructure of the stomach, I don't just belittle it. I don't just dismiss Governor Fayose as someone who doesn't know what he's doing. I interrogate what is going on.
How come he has such large followers? How come after so many years out of government he came back in an election and defeated an incumbent?
That is what we are supposed to do as
intellectuals. If he doesn't have followers who believe in what he's doing and what he's saying.
Yeah, so you need to do that. You know, it played out in America when, they talk about the deplorables. You have to understand what the people want. You have to understand the way the people are thinking. I'm not saying indulge their thinking, but you must first understand. You cannot win if you do not understand the people. I see arrogance. I call it haughty nature of the intellectuals who you don't understand the game. So when I say a gentleman is one who just want to stroll into the boxing ring and be declared the champion. No, you have to fight. You fight for it because, like Ashwaju said, power is not served. You don't expect anybody to vacate the position and just let you take over power. It is not about the power. It's about what do you do with the power. If you say, okay, you mean well, you want to do ABC, how do you expect people to just believe you or to trust you? It doesn't work out that way. You need to get the power. When you get the power, then demonstrate to the people that this is what I can do with the power. That's why some of the people say, like you said, you're quoting the vice president. The vice president says, I make the point about wholesale mentality.
Yeah.
Retail, you must understand, you must interrogate and get involved with policies at the retail level.
Retail level, yeah. I found that particular assertion by him very intriguing. And the part of what he built on it is that leadership is central to the fortunes of society.
Absolutely. It is
leadership is indeed consequential.
It is consequential. So what we have now is a lot of our people do, cynicism, is there. And we live in in the age of anger with the social media, all of that. Just exacerbating that. And this age of anger is not even peculiarly Nigerian. It's about the zeitgeist. It's a time. So, in fact, that's part of what we need to understand. You need to understand that this is the age. You have to understand the peculiarities of the age in which we live in. So you just don't dismiss everything and believe that, okay, I saw one of the notable Nigerians on a TV program on Sunday. Again, they are regrouping, just like the way they were talking about third force. Can you imagine? Even we cannot, in terms of collectivism, we cannot even organize ourselves. Look at what we're doing look at NBA. Look at people breaking their Nigerian Medical Association. Look at some of our alumni associations that I belong to. If you see what plays out, some of the residents association. I was reading about Magodo residents. We cannot even organize ourselves at this level. Then we think it is. When Plato was talking about philosopher kings and all of that, we think that power maybe should reside in the hands of the people, the intelligentsia.
Yeah.
But have we proven ourselves? Are we deserving of this power?
No.
Yet, at every point in time, we run for office, and when we lose, rather than, interrogate why we lost, a lot of we can't even come together. I mean, where do we even start from? You cannot even come together. You cannot die to serve. You want to attain power, and you are looking at someone like Asiwaju Tinubu, who in 2007 was on his way to the Senate. Yeah. He had to die to serve to become what he is today. Yeah. So, but we, the intellectuals, how many people, we all run for office at the same time. Look at the last, the third first. They came together between Fela, my friend, Dr. Fasha, Kingsley Morgan, and even the referee, Mrs. Aishawara, even the referee at that point in time, Mrs. Ezekwesili, eventually ended up running. So if you cannot come together, if you cannot even among ourselves aggregate, and pursue what is the interest. Yeah. If it's national interest, then we now talk down on politics and start talking. Then one of the issues we talk about, people saying some people are professional politicians and some people we need technocrats. These are the technocrats who cannot organize themselves. And who says the people who are professional politicians today were not technocrats yesterday? Yeah. A lot of the people in politics who people look down on and say are the people in the Senate and all these people, a lot of them have as fantastic education they have. So there's something fundamentally wrong. That's what I'm trying to have a conversation around, that if the good people want to take over power, power is not good. No, you have to understand the system. Yeah. Understand the people.
What drives politics.
Absolutely. Yeah. And what politics is all about is not morality. It's not for you to just be saying because
you can just go on and keep counting the number of the so-called technocrats that have served in government as appointees and now wanted to get to the driver's seat at some different levels and failed. Yeah. From the Ezekwesili that you mentioned to Soludo to Mogalu and all of that. Yeah. It will not seem as, it will not be as if this country is, has a dearth of brains. Yeah. But we have brains who probably don't understand the philosophy of politics.
Absolutely. And refusing to acknowledge that.
Refusing to acknowledge that.
That's the conversation I'm trying to spark. I'm trying to let us have this conversation. You see, this politics thing, apart from the fact, I went to study political science, not by accident. I was just about 15, 16. By 12, 13, my mind was already made up. Who was I looking at? The moment I heard that, I read about Azikiwe, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, I read political science. I was fascinated. That was why I went to school to study political science. And I've been around formation of political parties from the days of Labour Party, during the Babangida era, when he asked people to follow. I was still forming, radical, being an activist or radical. I know what we try to do. With the Labour, the requirements was you have to register people from all over Nigeria. Yeah. We went through that process. Yeah. Then, the days of Fresh. You know how people were fascinated in 2003 when Reverend Chris Okotie came onto the scene. So, I have studied that. So when in 2015 I saw people trying to form political parties again, I said, that was when I wrote the article, Do We Really Need a New Political Party Now? It is not about forming political parties. It's not each person forming his own political party. Yeah. If it's about that, Chief Ganifahemi, people who have great track record. It is about us sitting down, understanding what, it's just like football. I use analogies, or tennis. You cannot, how do you want to win a game that you don't even understand the rules? You don't understand how it works. You don't know what you're going to do. Do you want to play 3-4-3 or 5-5? You understand? So what I expect, I saw a professor, a well-known professor, and he was saying, we're going to organize it, you dismiss, they talk about NURTW, you dismiss them and say the Agberos. And
I read something about NURTW. What's the name of that guy in Lagos? MC Oluomo also. Yes. He was organizing something that targets about 2 million people doing something. And something that elites should be doing. And somebody made a comment that, see now, MC Oluomo has started, and by the time he begins to build a solid political structure and then launches into politics, the so-called elites, the so-called technocrats, the professors will be dismissing him that, this tout, what does he want to become? What does he know about governance? This one wants to be governor, or this one wants to be... But when he's building the solid foundational structure now, nobody's looking in that direction.
That's how
I read that piece. I said, There's a lot of truism in this.
That is how it starts. Look at our people now. They ran for elections in 2019. All the people, all the intellectuals, all the technocrats who ran for election, they've gone home. In another 1 year now, they will
come back.
They'll come back.
It
does not work that way. Where is your structure? Where, of course, I know there are some fundamentals that make things difficult. That's why I've advocated for parliamentary system and all of that. But beyond
you
that,
did. I'll get to that shortly.
Okay.
I know that it's a collection of different articles written at different times.
Yes.
Different frame of mind where you were writing.
Yes.
Okay.
And that was why
first of all,
ensure that I put the date so that you can put it in context.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll know that, okay, Simbo wrote this one when he was very angry or very hungry. Okay, but there's no truism in that assertion that politics is a dirty game.
No, if it is dirty,
There's no truism in it.
Politics is not is a dirty game. It's a dirty game. Politics is about
Because when
it's about
when
attainment
some of
power.
our colleagues leave what we are doing now and cross over to the arena, and they get covered by the dust of that combat, and they come out with their head bloodied and all of that, that's what they come back to report to us. Oh, politics is very dirty. Can you imagine me that I have all the knowledge? People don't want me, but they want that roadside mechanic who has nothing to offer.
Yes,
So
no, that was I was hesitant. There's death in politics, just as it is. Even football,
You
there's
know
death.
rules now.
Yeah, there is, but you have to get your hands dirty. It is about your objective. It is about where you are headed. You want. Why do you want to attain power? It is about. I mean, how can you say that you are applying brain, you cannot outthink someone who is applying brawn? Because you talk about the Agbero mentality and all of that. You should. I mean, if you have all of the knowledge that you claim to have, then I expect for you to be able to out-strategize. It is at the level of strategy that we are failing.
If age had been on his side those years, I'm talking of from when this Fourth Republic started. If age had been on his side, if Lamidi Adedibu had contested the governorship of Oyo State, he would have dusted everybody.
Absolutely. Even from, I mean, I don't know if you, there are references, copious references to all of those people, the Adedibu kind of politics. I don't dismiss any kind of politics. I study it. But our people are too emotional. I don't like.
Okay, so politics is not a dirty game.
I will not.
Let me go by your own definition
subscribe.
that it's a Game of Thrones.
Yes.
Unfortunately, is it a series that is called Game of Thrones?
Yes.
I never liked it really.
I didn't even
I'm
watch
just
it.
making a confession.
Yes.
Maybe a couple of times that I watched, but I don't know why I just didn't like it. But that's what you think politics is.
It's all about power. It's a contestation for power.
Yeah.
First and foremost, you must understand that what you do with the power, you know, that's okay. Maybe when we get into policy, you know, I talk about politics, policy, and governance. I talk about
politics.
But it is first and foremost about power. When you get the power, what you do with the power is a different ballgame. So there are people who want to get power. I mean, we want to get power for aggrandizement, for like the man who wants to have 300 researches and all of that. That's his objective. Is at the risk of being misunderstood, is a legitimate aspiration within the confines of the law. If that's what he wants to do, what we ought to do rather than just condemn, is to convince people that power will be better in the hands of Mr. B. Let power get into the hands of Mr. A. That is our job as intellectuals. You have to go to the bottom and understand how they think. They will ask you questions. They will say, but we followed Mr. This was what he did. You now let them understand why. For instance, you know, talk about the legislators who have problem. Why do they want to do constituency project? It is not just, we just blanketly condemn all of those things. We have to understand why they have to do that. Why a legislator has become an executive who is doing. There are too many things that I believe that we are not tackling in depth. We need to think through a whole lot of things that are not condemned.
We have time to do that because 2023 is just around the corner. Plus, in between it, you have some standalone elections. Though it's just a couple of days away, Ondo will follow soon after. By the time the dust is settling on those two, Anambra will come back.
There's no organization. I mean, 2023 has been taken care of.
As Nigerians,
yes.
I need you to address Nigerians. As Nigerians, what do we really need to begin to talk about in trying to fix those things?
You know, we talked about the media having the responsibility.
Yeah. You want to start with the media?
No, I just want to use an analogy.
Okay.
The elite, they have a responsibility as well. The education, the enlightenment, the exposure you've had. Nigeria, I mean, some of us went to school, we paid almost next to nothing at school fees, even though we thought it was a lot there.
Yeah.
You have a responsibility. Your responsibility is what I'm talking about. It starts at the level of thinking. We are not thinking. Our people are not thinking enough. Our people are too much in haste. I'm even talking about intellectual. They are too cynical and too much in haste in terms of what they want to do. You just want to attain power. We need to
politics is not a cut and paste thing.
You need to humble yourself to, I mean, I admit that you don't understand why this game is, I mean, you don't understand how this game works. So you have to come up with a strategy. I mean, let's talk about football. There's no way you are going to approach, you want to play a football game. You want to play, the way a Chelsea is going to play Arsenal, the way you're going to set up your team to play Arsenal is not the way you're going to set it up to play against Manchester City. Do you understand? So you must understand what the games, I mean, that's why I talk about 16 laws of politics. There are different things you need to do. You need to understand the game. What our people are not doing is, everybody is running one, we are running our own individual races. People are not coming together as a collective. And once people come together, the next thing they want to do is to run for office. How many of our people are ready to come together and die to self? And first and foremost, if you want to start any process, okay, since you say I should suggest, since people are coming together, they started coming together again. First, come together and sign an undertaking that none of you will run for office.
But build a structure.
Build a structure, and this will take a while. There was a time I was advocating that I felt people, we should all come together and advocate. A shortcut is what I call it, the parliamentary system. I believe it's a shortcut through which it is easy. It is easier for people to attain power, because at that point in time, then the system, the template, you break it down. Because if we're running a parliamentary system, for instance, then we can have a situation where all you need to do is work within a very small geographical zone.
Let me just put it down that your preference is parliamentary system of government.
Yes, it is, even though it has its own challenges. The reason why I'm saying, for instance, you want a Pat Utomi as the president, as the leader of Nigeria. So he has that dream, he has that ambition. Rather than work with the whole Nigeria, work with Nigeria as his own constituency, that means he just needs to go back to Delta State and work within a small place around Ogwashuku and invest all of his energy, immediate energy, in that direction. Then all of us can support and ensure he wins there. Within the party, then you have Tope Fashola goes to Akure and he works within that space. Obi Ezekwesili goes to Anambra and you win there. Then it becomes an easier, you get to have a pool of the best minds.
Yeah.
Do you understand? You have a Professor Oshipajo going to Ikene, he comes there. So within that pool, the probability, when we're talking about a lot of probability, so it becomes easier for you to be able to fish out
the best of the best.
The best of the best. That's what it does. Then, in case we find out we've made a mistake, it's easy.
The Game of Thrones things.
Within the parties, you quickly, even though the negative side of it is now that, okay, if it's so easy to take someone out of power, then people begin to abuse it. So there's a dimension to that.
Compare and contrast parliamentary system of government, presidential system of government, as we have,
and it's less expensive.
As we have experienced it since 1979.
Yes, 79.
Yes, we experienced it for that first 4 years. Then the military came, short-circuited everything, and then since 1999, that's 20 years now. We've practiced it, and a lot of people are saying there's no difference between this presidential system of government and the unitary system of government that we saw under the different military regimes. I'll allow you to respond to that, but we need to take a break. Okay. We'll be right back after this short break.
When the issues are critical, germane to Nigeria's democratic process,
politicians can only be seen maybe on television by judges. They should not intermingle, because once you intermingle, then you destroy the system.
When the personalities are big, important to national discourse.
When you reach certain stage of power and you demonstrate arrogance to the extreme, there's no other thing that will happen to you other than to fall.
When the developments are seemingly complex, confounding like a 1,000-piece jigsaw, that's when we require bold, sound, and analytical minds to help put the pieces together. Jigsaw with Gbenga Aruleba, now showing Tuesdays and Thursdays at 1 p.m. on AIT. Jigsaw, demystifying the issues.
In case you're just joining us, the program is Jigsaw. Simbo Olorunfemi is here. His latest works just been unveiled by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo. One of them, politics is not a game of gentlemen, is just what we are interrogating here. It's a collection of different articles written at different times. What are the other two books? There's
The devil is not in the politics.
The Devil is not in the politics. Then Every Day for the Goliath.
Yes.
Now that one is very Every Day for the Goliath.
Yes.
That's not a collection of articles too, is
It
it?
is.
Okay.
It's a collection of
So
articles for
that particular title is title of one of the articles, is it?
No.
Okay. So what informed the choice of
The
this
everyday
title?
particular is what we've been talking about the Goliaths who have head on to power for so long. But at the end of the day, I mean, there is going to be one day for the David.
Is that insight?
It is, because one must we must be.
And has this David found his catapult already?
Optimistic. Well, some might argue that because those articles were written prior to 2015. Yeah. Some might argue that there was a Titanic Goliath David thing, because that was the first time power. I mean, an incumbent was got to lose power. So in a way, that's a Goliath.
Was the Goliath slain that time?
Okay, maybe we should. In a way, the political party that went down in 2015 has been struggling for relevance ever since. And, he has to do his work. Because it's good for Nigeria to have two strong political parties. I mean, thinking back to what Babangida was thinking of us having then.
Isn't that what we have right now? That Nigeria has firmly become a two-party state.
Maybe
so any of the two big parties that want to win power will probably either could do it on its own or probably leverage on the little it can get from the other smaller parties. Or do you have anything? Nothing comes from the other small parties. 2014 happening again in Nigeria. That is when some other fringe parties will come together again and become a big party.
No. You can't. The thunder cannot strike. I mean, is it like striking? You won't strike twice. The conditions. There are no conditions to lead us in that direction. What needs to happen? In fact, funny enough, I had projected before now that the APC was going to. We're going to end up with a two-party system, but the APC was going to be pushed to the right. Then the left
will stay in the left.
That PDP will die. APC will become PDP in a way, pushed to the right. Then that.
I don't understand. PDP will die.
Yes.
APC will.
Yes, and APC will be. Okay. My argument is this: that as of 2014, 2015 that you're talking about, we had a PDP that was to the right. Yeah. Right of the spectrum. Then people came together. That I will say, lay claim to progressivism. Yes. Progressivism. So I believe but different forms, different people came together, different tendencies within that party, and you saw how it played out. The Saraki tendency, all of the PDP, the MPDP. So the way it was going, I had thought that if you're not careful, the elements that are more pro-right will take over that structure and push to the right.
That's the PDP
element, or people who are the conservative element will push to the right. And I had sounded the alarm that for the people that we are talking about, the intelligentsia and uncle, form something, come together as a collective, then pull out team up with the progressive
renegades
within the APC and take to the left. That was what I mean. If our people had been pragmatic and strategic enough, but they didn't see that way. They just felt, let's run a race instead of
instead of the likes of Mogalu, Patutomi and co trying to form new parties that didn't have structure.
Yes.
All they needed to do was just populate those two political parties if possible, or populate the APC that was new then
and take over that structure. That was the argument I was making way back then.
Since 2014, probably by now they would have succeeded in doing that.
That was my argument. I mean, that was the argument I made in 20. When I wrote an article and said, "Do we need a political party now?" That was the argument. That is not about a new political party, but people now went to form political party. The philosophical argument I was making was that this is the structure. You have to take over that vehicle. It's not going to be easy, but just move in there. This is what I canvass for. That's the pragmatism that I'm talking about. But things have now changed. But we lost our opportunity. I don't know. I say we. I mean, okay, maybe I like to see myself as one of, even though some of those people think I'm no longer.
You are no longer part of
them, because when I make some of these arguments, they're like, what is this saying? We want to form a political party, and this man is saying politics is not for gentlemen, and we are gentlemen. Is this saying we should not come into politics? That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying think it through.
Yeah.
So we lost that opportunity. So we have an opportunity. So we gave PDP a second chance. So PDP has been able to take to the right, but PDP has a lot of work to do. Humble itself. That's one of the things. You know, that's one of the things I find that people do. When you lose, you need to interrogate why you have lost.
Exactly.
And
that's the only way you can make progress.
Not to allege that somebody rigged you out and stuff, and not humble yourself. Humble yourself.
We can't go through all of these 45 collections that made up this just one particular book. That's the politics. This politics is not a game. We can't probably go through. So I don't know. If I pick up an issue, I'm sure we'll be able to situate it in one of the articles. You have argued that, okay, you just argued just now that the nation will probably stand to gain better if we go in the direction of parliamentary system of government. Have you studied the gains of the period 1960 to 1964 effectively? That we had parliamentary system of government in place and presidential system of government 1979 to 1983, then 1999 up to date.
Yes. No, I've done that. I've actually done an extensive study on the.
And it's not just, we are not looking at it from the perspective of just one being more expensive than the other.
No, that's a consideration because Nigeria, we don't have the resources. I mean, people complain about we have a fat legislature. I mean, there is so much
by camera.
Yes,
460 legislators.
So I would rather us have a leaner structure. So it gives us a leaner structure. Those are the advantages I put across. So then people talk about you have people who are appointed ministers who don't have a base, who don't have
no portfolio.
Who have no connection. You know,
with their constituency.
Yeah, with their constituency. So under parliamentary system, you don't have a minister who is not connected. Then transparency.
Because it's first and foremost a parliamentarian.
Yes, you have to be first and foremost a parliamentary.
Direct representative of the people.
Yes, before you get assigned a portfolio. And accountability, I mean, there and then you see the friction we have now with people in the parliament, summoning ministers to come and explain. No, I mean, we are all here together.
And in the cases where we've had frictions, is either people who have been in the legislature before, and then I've also tasted executive.
Yes.
And though the fine lines that define the principle of separation of power, they are the ones having problems with the members of the National Assembly.
I'm very happy that you made that observation because, in fact, if you think back to the last Senate president who came in as an executive, you could see that even his understanding of that office was more executive.
Yeah.
So there's this confusion in the mind of the people.
Yeah.
Then you
can summon people up and down. You can give directive on how policies should be implemented. It's the first time I'm hearing that the legislature can actually give directive as to how a particular policy of government should be executed.
In fact, I saw Professor Katutomi argue that the legislature has become a cog in the wheel of democracy in Nigeria. Even though I might not agree with him also, but there are things to be. In fact, let's not even look at it at the federal level. can we just even try and experiment at the level of the states? Because I equally argue that what we have in Nigeria are governor generals, I call them, that our governors are in fact
the states are
very
about
powerful.
fiefdoms.
Yes. So the houses of assembly in most of the states are just there on paper. So why do we need that? Why can't we even have a parliamentary system at the state level? Because that won't even come with the complications that might come at the federal level. So if you start at the state level, let whoever wants to govern a state run through and let him work with his lieutenants who are members of after all,
who are co-equals.
Yeah, the executive and the legislature in most of the states are one. They are effectively merged as one. In some states, even the judiciary is.
Even the judiciary is
sorry,
I'm
sorry, we have to say that, but sometimes the judiciary is effectively part of the executive. So, in fact, we have instances where some legislative houses are actually operating from the government house, because the place has been designated as the place where they're supposed to meet is there on lockdown for some interesting political reason. So we have effect. So why do we need to have two arms if we can have one? Particularly when the resources are not there.
Yeah, but what will it take to begin to advocate for a review of the presidential system of government we have, and in its place enthrone a parliamentary system of government? Have we gone too far in the direction of this presidentialism that if you begin to talk of parliamentary system of government, people will not remind you of, oh, you remember what led to wet here in the Western Republic? You remember Akintola versus Awolowo. You remember that even in the southwestern region, there were complaints of marginalization by even a region that we thought was homogeneous, and all of that.
Yeah, but some of those problems are not problems that are necessarily peculiar to the parliamentary system.
Yeah, but those are things that people will begin to put forward if we begin to advocate parliamentary system of government now.
But I will argue that all of those arguments don't stand in the way of parliament. I'm not saying a parliamentary system is a perfect system. There's no perfect system anywhere. In fact, most of the time it is about us. Now, that's why I was talking about the alumni association, residents, our professional bodies. We can't even organize ourselves at that level. Yeah. Even as journalists, I mean, we find it difficult to be able to organize ourselves. So there's something innately we have to ask ourselves. You know, I talk about the Kajola spirit, you know. That's back then. Can you understand? There was that thing about us wanting to come together, to think together. You know, back then there are things that we can.
Commonwealth.
You know, in many of those towns, particularly from the part of the country where we come from, if not just a community will come together to sponsor someone to go to school. A community used to come together to raise funds, to do the road, to build health facilities, to build school. Most of those schools were built by the communities before they were handed over to government. That is a spirit, is the kind of spirit that was in our people then, is what we need to rediscover. That thing that's like you, I mean, look at how you started about the gentleman who, a former senator. That's not us. We were never like that. That vulgarity or vanity that to be showing, if you had your money, you had your money. It wasn't something for you to now throw in the faces of people. It was seen as
those
obscene.
who had money those days were like the rallying point for their communities. Yes. That's why the big houses, which were like community houses.
Yes.
Because I remember those rich people in the villages those days, they are the ones that will only build upstairs. And every room you go there is occupied by people,
one person,
not necessarily members of his family. Extended family, people who didn't even have homes, people whose parents didn't have homes. I remember I grew up in such
it is that spirit I want us to rediscover.
The eldest of my grandfathers, I grew up in his house and upstairs. Not in my own grandfather's house, but in his own house, because in his own house he had a big upstairs. My own grandfather's own house wasn't that big and all of that. So, I mean, that's not the kind of spirit that we have now. It
is that kind of spirit that we need to rediscover. And that kind of spirit, too, is engendered by the kind of system that I'm talking about. We need to, you know, that's why I talk about retail and wholesale. We need to get busy at the bottom. The same argument I make about the economy is the same argument. All the salvation of Nigeria is at the bottom, not at the top. We need to get back to the bottom, rediscover those things. You know, there's many things that look at the Igbo apprenticeship system, for instance. I'm moving away from. There are things that are innate to us. There are things that we just need to rework to be able to get our bearing right.
We're in the process of amending the constitution, and I know that one of the articles I've read in this book was talking about that there's no problem with the constitution. That the problem is not with the constitution. I don't know what the title is. Was I want to call it? You remember that there's something on the constitution.
Yeah, well, I always argue that there's something with us. Yes. It's not about the system.
The obsession with the constitution, yes.
The obsession with the constitution. We are obsessed. Everyone. I mean, every time you hear people say it's the constitution, it's the constitution. Of course, there are some.
Any problem we have, it is the constitution. Yeah. Headers are killing farmers. Blame it on the constitution. The federal government is talking about new water. Is it water bill?
The constitution is what we make of it. The constitution is what we make of it. There are countries that are governed largely by unwritten constitutions. All of these things I've been talking about now, we are not codified. Way back, the things that govern our society way back then, at the bottom, at the primary level, we're not codified. We're not written. We just knew what to do. So it is about our people not knowing. We need to rediscover that spirit of wanting to do. I mean, religious institutions, this schism, this wanting to go it alone, this unwillingness to die to self, permeates every sector, permeates every area of our lives, and that's what it's playing. So politics is not peculiar. Whatever you see in politics. Whatever we are seeing in politics, it's just that politics is more prominent. That's why people are talking about politics is a dirty game. We might as well say every other thing that we do is dirty. If you want to go, it's that way. Almost everything, we are struggling at almost every area of our life just because our people are not ready to rediscover that, what some other people call the Ubuntu, that collectivism, just come together.
The Ubuntu spirit.
Just die to self. Can we, we're talking about strategize to attain power so that people of your own minds, people of like minds can be there. But how many of us are willing to do that? When people sponsor in America, when you put your $10 or your $5, it's because you believe in that philosophy. Yeah. What is the philosophical template that is governing us? Not even the political party. What are you seeing? So if you are seeing life in a particular way, if you are seeing society should be governed in a particular way, that leadership should be formed in a particular way, then you want to push people who have same mind with you to attain power, to be able to ensure that that vision you have is realized. That's even for professional institutions, they can do a whole lot behind the scene to ensure that people it's not like a law will be passed tomorrow and you just wake up and tell us that, where have you been? We are not even civically minded enough to even know the process of lawmaking. So that a law that takes maybe like 2, 3, 4 years to get passed, we now say, we start complaining about it.
Simbo, you won't believe that it's almost 55 minutes that we've been here on this platform. We have just less than a minute. Okay. And I was going to ask you questions about current issues. Okay, let me just take one, and I will need you to answer it very sharply. Fuel price increase, electricity tariff hike, and all of that, all coming at this time. Are we going back to things we should have done long ago, particularly on the issue of fuel?
Well, I would say that, a lot of our discussions around policy gets enmeshed in politics. So many times we are not able to agree. For instance,
can we make the kind of arguments we are making if Nigeria, as an oil-producing nation, doesn't have a functional refinery? We're not refining products.
No, we don't have it. We don't have a choice with the direction in which we are going. We don't have a choice for the regulation in terms of the oil price. The only hope we have is when the private refinery that is being built by Dangote finally come on stream, because you cannot.
There are about 2 that should come on stream very soon. There's one in Bayelsa
There are a couple of modular refineries. A couple of modular refineries.
No, the one in Bayelsa is actually not a modular refinery.
Oh, really?
I'm not so sure it's a
So that's the only way. You cannot be dependent on importation of products and expect that the price will be static, because you don't have control. I mean, your exchange rate is a factor. The price of oil in the international market is a factor. Those are factors that will impact the price at which we eventually get petrol at the retail level. There's little we can do about it. Sometimes it might go up, sometimes it will go down.
Simbo, we just have to go now.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, bro, and congratulations again. Anytime I see anybody I know doing those kind of things that some of us don't have the time and the energy to do, I always get fascinated, and so you can understand where I'm coming from. And again, reestablishing links with somebody like you, again, after all these years.
No, you owe us a book. I mean, you should at least, you should tell us. I mean, you've been around politics in Nigeria now politics and law in Nigeria for such a long time. So you owe us at least one book. Maybe
when I fully retire. For now, I'm seeing a partial retiree. Thank you so much, Simbo. I appreciate you finding time to be here. You should have done this last week, but then you know what happened. No, and you still found time to still get all the same that day. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. No, you're welcome. And congratulations. Right. That's Jigsaw for today. My guests had been Simbo Olorunfemi, a journalist, a writer, author. His latest set of books, 3 actually, at the time, were unveiled last week by no less a personality than the Vice President of Nigeria, Professor Yemi Osinbajo. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you too for investing your time with us on behalf of all of us here. Enjoy the rest of the day. I'll see you on Thursday.
Children will make you drive.
Leave me and my kids.
My belly hurt. I actually feel like fainting.
Let me introduce the both of you quickly. Ivy, that is Osa.
I'll sponsor your wedding.
Are you serious?
Spend a weekend with me.
What?
Locate him and silence him for good.